Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing very good, David. How are you this morning?
I'm fine. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to talk about a topic. This week is about this topic that I chosen, that is smart contracts. And I wanted to talk about this because right now there's this tension flowing around cryptocurrencies because of what happened with FTX last week. And there's a lot of people who says that crypto is dead and this was just a bubble and that it doesn't have any value at all. So I want to talk a little bit about the things that this technology, the blockchain technology, will provide us in the near future and how it will change our lives. So I want to talk about a little bit about smart contracts. Well, first, we have to talk about Ethereum. Blockchain began with the introduction of Bitcoin, but Bitcoin was just a token that utilized this technology called blockchain. Bitcoin, its whole purpose was to just be used as currency, as money. So Bitcoin was just like you will say a US dollar, and that was about it. Ethereum was born as like an alternative to Bitcoin, but the difference is that with Ethereum, you are actually capable of writing code and creating applications, programs, and contracts that can be executed within the blockchain technology itself. So this means that even though Ethereum uses the same technology as Bitcoin, Ethereum allows to do things that Bitcoin don't. And here is where it gets really, really interesting. Um, think about Ethereum like a decentralized computer. It's a platform, a supercomputer that allows you to create a lot of interesting stuff. So first, we have to know, well, what is a smart contract? A smart contract is nothing more than a program or an app written in a language called Solidity that runs under a certain condition or agreement. So let's say for a practical purpose that you say, okay, I want to get an insurance. I want to get an insurance for my crops because I make rice, I plant rice. And I know that if there's a flood in the river nearby, my crops will be destroyed and I will have to get my insurance. Well, if you have a smart contracts, you can have these little items called oracles, and the oracles what do is that they say what is the level of the water. You install them yourself, or the company that gives you the contract install them for you. And if the oracles say, okay, the water actually flooded the crops, the insurance will be immediately given. So a smart contract is more or less a contract run by a computer that says when X happens, you have to execute Y.
Yeah, well, just to complement a little bit of what you were saying, everything that we do in our lives related to economical transactions, yes, are transactions. So we exchange fiat currency, let's say dollars, euros, or any other currency for products. So as soon as we make these exchanges, a transaction is created. When you buy a house, for instance, you have to sign a lot of documents like a contract. Yes. And then also, if you buy a car or if you agree to somebody that gives you a service to pay certain quantity of money. So you are doing all these activities with transactions. So we do a lot of transactions every day. Sometimes we have to sign formal transactions as like the insurance company that you commented. I know that probably you have a health insurance that you live in Germany and you had to sign a private health insurance, maybe. Yes, and that's a contract. So the idea also as well of the smart contract is to uh, take all these codes, all these articles of these contracts and put them on a code that everybody can get access to it.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things about this is that they try to make it as accessible as possible so that people can actually do these contracts without having to go through third parties. But there's a problem with that, and we'll explain that later. Okay, so we've already talked about smart contracts, but one of the interesting things about this are the applications, because well, you have to think about this as the future technology that will run the world. So the applications that are going to be the uses that are going to be done for this technology, it's going to be so huge that you have to be actually really creative in order to understand what it's going to happen. So one really interesting thing and one really interesting concept that I came up with was with the video games. So everybody knows that the video game industry is huge. The video game industry is bigger than the music and film industry combined. There's a lot of money flowing into the video game industry. And there's this concept called play to earn, which means that as long as you're playing a game and earning in-game money, that money will have a value that you can later use for whatever you want. Maybe there are going to be some items in the game that you can use and buy, but you can also use these tokens to buy any other thing. A good example about this is an economy created in a game called World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is a really old game by internet standards, and there's a lot of people that invested a lot of time in it. And there are a lot of items that are really hard to get by and that have a higher value if you want to get them. And there are people that invested so much time and money and energy that are willing to pay a lot of money for these items. So right now you can see that there's like this in-game economy in World of Warcraft where there's people that actually have jobs, actually can buy like a lot of stuff and invested a lot of money into this. There's another concept also used in this play to or used to earn, where there are web browsers in which they say, okay, we are collecting your data because you are using our web browser, so we're going to pay you with our own token, our own currency, so that you can still use our browser. So it's a win-win situation. We get your data, we sell it, and you get some money for the data you're giving to us.
Any other application you came up with besides gaming? So where else can we apply all these smart contracts?
Well, another thing is the traditional contracts. The thing is that a lot of the contracts that we do every day require third parties in order to execute them. So for example, if you buy a house and you need to get the mortgage, maybe you have to go to the bank and explain everything, how it's happening. Maybe you have to undo the mortgage and then you have to go and pay, and everybody has to go. Then you have to go to the notary, and in the notary, somebody has to sign that the contract is actually can be executed. Smart contracts kind of try to cut all of this and make it as fast and simple as possible. And the traceability and the fact that you can actually use all of this without having the need of having a huge amount of third parties and just with a simple code is something that can change in the near future the way we actually do business. Why? Because there's a lot of people that are involved that are really not necessary for the execution of a contract. It's just because there's no other way around it. With smart contracts, there's gonna be another way around it, and we're going to change this. Another interesting topic is, well, I think everybody by this point has heard about NFTs. And NFTs stand for non-fungible token. What this means is that you actually have own of right, something like a certificate that says that you own a piece of digital media or form. So for example, I put this image because this image is one of a series of NFT that was sold for a lot of money. And there was a craze for NFTs some time ago, years in internet time. And Well, the thing that not a lot of people understand about NFTs is that NFTs don't necessarily just mean to get a piece of art so that you can become rich later. It can also be used to fund people and to fund new coming artists. So another really interesting example will be, well, what if you found out about a really cool band that you really like and you're fans from them from the beginning, and you want to give them some money? So let's say this band says, okay, we need some money. Can you please buy our NFT of this song we just released, or from our album cover, or from these pictures? And because you're a really great fan of this new coming band, you say, okay, I'll buy the NFTs. Now let's say that in 20 years, this band becomes huge and everybody likes them. And well, you got an NFT from them when they were in the beginning. That means that this token that you bought actually became, well, really, really expensive. So this was not possible in the past. I think there's some collectible items that a lot of people really like to hang on. So there's a lot of people that collect old tapes from their favorite artist or old CDs. These NFTs will allow people to just invest in artists and make donations.
This reminds me to something that is crowdfunding. I don't know if you have heard about this term of crowdfunding. It started actually people helping each other when they wanted to code something. They helped. It was crowdsourcing, so they asked people to help them to develop some codes. But then it evolved into finance. Yeah, and it started actually with donations. So there were many artists and many painters that they needed money to exhibit their work, and they didn't have the capital to hire the venue for the exhibition, or transport the catering, or hire the catering to offer to all the attendants. But then crowdfunding evolved to something that it was rewarded crowdfunding. If you go to Kickstarter, Kickstarter is one of the biggest platforms that helps entrepreneurs to push and to start up their projects. And then there was something that was called lending crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending base, where people help each other in terms of providing capital and receiving an interest for it. And finally, equity crowdfunding is like you invest, you back up projects with a small quantity of money, but the idea is that you have thousands of backers, yes, thousands of people investing in one project. If you have 1,000 people investing $50, that means $50,000. That's good for a startup that probably needs some capital for advertisement, or some contact, or increase the level of contact or awareness of the product. It looks kind of the similar, but in a different layer. What do you say about it?
Well, there's another thing that I just remembered. There was this time where we were checking out this website where you can actually fund small startups, and you can give them some money, whatever you want. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about, but the thing is that you said, well, you can actually try to fund these companies, but you never know if in the near future they're going to release more money, to more stocks, and dilute the price of the stock, and then you lose all your money. Well, there's a lot of corporate things that people do, especially in the stock market. And the NFT market is not really regulated, but with smart contracts, you can actually execute rules. So for example, if you say that we're going to release, I don't know, 1,000 copies or 1,000 stocks of something, let's say 1,000 NFTs, the smart contract will make sure that you're not going to release more NFTs, more tokens, more stocks, more whatever that what you initially said. And there's also another thing that artists are using a lot, that is that, for example, let's say I buy one NFT for $100, and then 20 years later, this NFT costs $10 million. So I sell it to somebody else. There's a part of this NFT probably, or this smart contract, that says, a commission of the value of selling, that means a commission of those $10 million is going to go directly to the artist. Even if the artist has nothing to do with it and he already sold it, he will get a commission of it.
Yeah,
because, this is the kind of thing you can do.
Yeah, just if that's actually included in the contract, right? And this is something that I see often, that you they all these platforms like Google or like PayPal or Yahoo, they change the term of conditions, and they say, hey, look, this is what is going to change, and the only choice that you have is just to accept the changes of that contract. Yes. So with the smart contracts, I think that that's kind of not possible to do it unilaterally. Both parties will have to agree into those changes.
Exactly. That's one of the good reasons. That's one of the best reasons to use smart contracts, but it also has a flaw. I was going to talk about it later, but okay. The thing is that, as long as the smart contract is well written, there's no problem. The problem is if the smart contract, it's just code. If it has some vulnerability, that means that some hacker can actually get into it and do a loophole and get advantage of it. I'm going to talk about a little bit about it in the next slides. But now I want to talk about DeFi. DeFi stands for decentralized finance, and it means that, everybody knows that Bitcoin is a currency, cryptocurrency, but still it has some value, and there's people that actually can buy stuff with cryptocurrency. So with DeFi, with decentralized finance, the thing is try to eliminate the use of Wall Street and create these financial institutions that don't rely on legacy systems of 1,000 years ago in order to give loans and such. So for example, if I want to get a loan in order to buy a house, I don't have to go and do the line, the queue, and maybe they'll approve it or not. But these financial institutions based on this technology are trying to cut the middleman and make finances more open and available for everybody. There still needs some regulation, just as we learned last week with the case of TFX. But yeah, we'll have to see how this evolves. And another thing that I found really interesting, it's the governance and elections. For example, what if in the near future you can actually eradicate corruption by using NFTs and crypto tokens and cryptocurrencies? So for example, one of the problems, for example, in a country that has a dictatorship is that the people who actually count the votes are the same people who are in power and who stay in power. But with the use of the blockchain technology, you can actually cut the middleman and make elections just as clear as they can be. So there cannot be two people or dead people voting for the elected president, and there's not going to be a centralized institution that says who wins or who loses, but everything can be done through blockchain technology. And another thing that I found interesting as well, what if you need to get a job? And you have to show your work experience, and then you say, okay, I worked in this and this and this company. Did you really work in this company, or you're just trying to show off so that we give you the job? Well, what if every time I finish working, let's say I do a internship in a company or whatever, just fresh out of college, I get an NFT, a token that says, yeah, this person worked in our company from this to this, he did this and this and this. And this will change the way we can actually work and cooperate, and human resources can do their job. I think that the interesting thing about this technology is that it's so new, and we're just going through the basics of it, through this infancy stage, that we don't even know, and we don't even start to imagine what are going to be the uses for it. And that's what makes it really interesting and really exciting to be in this moment right now.
Yes, I mean, we need to understand that blockchain technology is not just Bitcoin. Is that correct? It offers us a lot of possibilities and a lot of transparency, a lot of traceability of many
Mhm.
transactions and many things of what we do. Do you have something else for us?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm talking about this wonderful world called crypto, Ethereum, blockchain, but I also want to talk about the disadvantages that this technology has right now. And well, it's not perfect. I mean, it's a technology that is in its infancy stage, anyways. So I try to compact them in these points. For example, the first one is that it's difficult to change a smart contract. Once you write a smart contract, you cannot change it. What people actually do in order to change a smart contract in case they want to change it, both parties, is that they say, okay, let's create a new smart contract and the previous one, let's not use it. But if you realize that there's a mistake or you want to change a condition or a term for whatever reason, you can't.
Well,
Also,
you can always add an addendum to a contract. I mean, if both parties agrees, you can always add certain lines of codes that it's adding like an addendum in a real contract, right? Isn't that
yeah,
possible?
no, the deal is that you have to create a very new contract. You have to create a new contract with the new terms and conditions, but the previous one, it's already stored in the blockchain and you cannot modify it at all. That's the whole point of it, but it makes a lot of problems because, well, uh, there's a lot of, in contracts, there's a lot of subjective stuff. So, for example, a lot of law firms, a lot of lawyers talk about good faith, reasonable, the best efforts possible. For example, if there's a company and they're trying to sue you for whatever reason, for your performance or whatever, and you say, yeah, but I did a reasonable job with good faith and all of this. And this is really subjective in a world of just smart contracts. Like, I mean, it's just code. In the real world, in our world, there's a judge that decides if, there's good faith, if it was reasonable, but in a smart contract, not really.
But
So,
but that doesn't happen still. I mean, because it's an unregulated market, it's an unregulated activity, and probably will have to be regulated so many people cannot take advantage of other people when developing contract. I mean, the ones that have the knowledge so far are the developers, because they know what actually they're writing. So if you try to explain what the code says actually to somebody that doesn't know anything about coding, that can be a huge impact and a very big
exactly.
impact. It's like the case of FTX.
FTX.
Yes, that many people were investing in the company without knowing actually what the management were doing with their funds. And it seems like they don't have accountability for their actions. They didn't have any sort of auditing for the decisions that they were making. But that's a different story. It's still, I think, an early stage industry that probably will grow in the next years.
Of course, but one of the things in here that you just mentioned is that, okay, it's just code and there's people that know more than other people. So there's the possibility that you get hacked and your contract gets hacked. So, for example, let's say you have a certain amount of funds in a smart contract. Let's say you are an insurance company and you have 1 million euros in an account in case, I don't know, the guys from the crops actually lose their crops and you have to pay. What if there's a hacker that actually sees this contract and actually is able to find a loophole with code and actually gets to steal all of this money? This is not an hypothetical case. There are already there have been already cases of this happening where hackers actually get some smart contracts, hack them, and steal all the money. And well, one of the last real problems with this technology right now is that Ethereum is really in its early stage. So For example, in this Ethereum iteration, the first iteration of Ethereum, this blockchain can only execute 15 transactions per second. Visa can execute 24,000 transactions per second. So you cannot actually try to replace the financial system that we have right now just with Ethereum, because it's not scalable. There are developers, the developers of the Ethereum Foundation are working on the second iteration of Ethereum, Ethereum 2.0, that it's going to solve the scalability of issue of it. And there are other technologies that actually don't have this scalability problem, but still, this technology is really new, and there's still a long way to go in order for this to actually go mainstream and that you actually use it to buy your house. But the technology is there, and it's really a good idea to get to know what's going on with this, because it's really likely that in 20 years you're going to buy your house with a smart contract.
Definitely, I agree with you. I'm using cryptocurrencies, but maybe they will be regulated and maybe they will be owned by the countries of the world.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's another topic, the regulations of cryptocurrencies. We should talk about that topic soon.
Soon, but let's figure it out during the week. Yes, because I think that's a very complicated topic. You
That's
have
true.
different layers. You have the local layer, you have the country layer, you have the region layer, you have the world layer. How that's going to be regulated. This is like flying an airplane. You know that you cross as many borders to reach. If you want to go from South America to Europe, then you have to cross many layers of borders and and international law. Well, do you have something else for us?
No, that was pretty much it. I'm really glad to give you this explanation of smart contracts. I really enjoyed doing all of the research in order to show you all of this, because yeah, I think this is the future and everybody should know a little bit about it.
Definitely. Finally, I think our streaming worked perfect, except for that we didn't take 10 minutes, but it's part of the topic. Sometimes there are topics that they just require a little bit more of time to try to understand and to get some details about it. So thank you, David, for this presentation of smart contracts, and let's see what the future brings us.
Okay, yeah, we're going to do the next 10 minutes talk next week. We're also preparing new content for all the people that are following us. We're going to upload some more content really soon. So please keep watching our business training and development LinkedIn website. And we just started a YouTube channel where you can see all the repository of our old content and the new content that is yet to come.
That's it. And don't forget to like us in LinkedIn, where we are very active. So let's see if we can reach our new goal of 1,000 subscribers. We already got 150 that it was required in order to stream from the page on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot of work actually to do this, but I really enjoy doing this. I really like this.
Okay, thank you very much to all you. Thank you very much, David, for the insights about smart contracts, and see each other next week.
Next week.
Okay.
Same
Perfect.
place, same time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.